That Sunshine State showdown in the first round where the Lightning, who finished third in the Discover Central, played against the Panthers. And the Panthers finished 4 points ahead of the Lightning in the standings. The regular season, a better record. Regulation wins the advantage to the reigning Cup champs back-to-back. You saw that series start to finish every single second, Billy Lindsay. How far was the gap between Tampa and the Panthers?
Minimal.
Really?
Very small. Panthers had a chance. They had to use 3 goaltenders in this series, and if they got down and got some saves at the right time, they might be on the winning end and might go all the way to the Stanley Cup. It was that close. They pushed Vasilevsky. They took some bad penalties at costly times in that power play. Panthers did not have an answer for the power play. They took too many penalties throughout the course of this series, and the power play was able to dominate at times. Sam Bennett got suspended for 1 game, and Sam Bennett came over the trade deadline from the Calgary Flames, made a huge impact. And for the Panthers, when they got Spencer Knight to the goaltender, they went Bobrovsky, Drieger, and then Spencer Knight. And Spencer Knight played really well down at the end. But to use 3 goaltenders and go up against Andrei Vasilevsky, his numbers were down against the Panthers, but when it meant the most, Andrei Vasilevsky made the save when it needed to be made. On the other side for the Panthers, they did not get the saves when they needed it. The goaltending has to be shored up for the Panthers to take that next step. But talent-wise, if you matched them up, they matched up really good. And it was a close series throughout.
And you didn't have Ekblad.
And didn't have Aaron Ekblad. And 27 years it took for this to happen, for the Panthers and Lightning to meet in the playoffs. And it was dynamite. It exploded. That first game was one of the most thrilling, exciting games of hockey that you could watch, between toughness, hits. It was bodies flying over. We talked about the energy. It was real wild and crazy. But they pushed Tampa Bay really hard, and it was maybe the most physical series and maybe the one they had to overcome to get on that road to the Stanley Cup. Panthers are close.
Harry, how great is it that the worst round Vasilevsky had, his numbers were still...
I was just looking at that.
929.
It's incredible.
Only a 9.24 save, 2.6 goals against. Horrible. He really struggled. And, you know, when I look at Florida, I look at a team that's getting there. That's just a lesson learned for them. They just played against the best team. They won the back-to-back Stanley Cups, and they're going to take those lessons. They're disciplined. These guys are going to be back, and there's a true belief in that organization. I spoke with Andrew Brunette a couple of times over the year, and he would just mention that there's something special going on here. There's a belief. There's something special that they're going the right way, and they're getting close, and they're going to take that series, learn their lessons. Hey, we can't take penalties against. We got to do more discipline in the playoffs. You know, maybe we got to shut down a little bit more. Whatever it is, add whatever they think they need to add. Obviously, Billy nailed it with the goaltending. They've got to just find a #1 goaltender. You can't expect to win a series starting 3 different goalies, or even win a cup for starting that many different goalies. But everything else they have going on, this is a good learning lesson for them. They're going to know how to compete against the best. They got to compete against Stanley Cup champions. They come back next year feeling better about themselves, take those lessons learned, and go on and make a good run.
Billy, the whole league has noticed, whether it's Barkov. I mean, you were rattling off earlier today when we were talking about this, your GM, your coach, the fact that the buzz is not just local to the Sunshine State, that the Florida Panthers, and it feels like this is sustainable. It's not a one-hit wonder. In '96, unfortunately, that team, it wasn't sustained. This feels like something where this team is going to be a factor for years to come.
And this is the biggest thing that's been missing down in South Florida, is making the playoffs year in and year out. So you had 96 and 97, and then you had a big break, and you had a couple other years where you made the playoffs in there. But the Panthers and their fan base need a team that's going to be there in the playoffs for 5 or 6 years.
Yes.
This setup now with the core, you got Barkov, you got Huberdeau, you got Ekblad, these type of players to build around. But you look at the offseason for Bill Zito, and he was up for GM of the Year, and Quenneville was up for Coach of the Year, but he brought in Verhaeghe, slam dunk, hit that one big time. And then he also brought in Hornquist, leadership in the dressing room.
Correct.
That paid off big time. Anthony Duclair comes over, was one solid speedster. And he also added Gudis and then Sam Bennett at the trade deadline.
Sam?
Wenberg is your third-line center. And also a guy that really came on was Gustav Forsling, a player that came over and they were familiar with Joe Quenneville from Chicago. But the additions, if you look at all those additions, they all played well. And the subtractions that he was able to get rid of, even the Mike Matheson deal, Mike Matheson had a heavy contract, was able to get that for Hornquist. That was a big change and shift in momentum. So the offseason Bill Zito had last year was tremendous, and he's looking for that same type of impact this year, and just moving a couple pieces around. They do feel that they're very close to pushing that Stanley Cup button.
Yeah, to go along with what the players he brought in, I love the fact he brought in Stanley Cup resumes, guys that have won, that have been there and had that experience to help the other guys out, to calm them down, to fire them up, whatever that room needs. I love that, and you nailed it. Yeah, Zito was incredible this year, and obviously Joe Quenneville's Joe Quenneville.
Number 2 all-time in wins. That seems good. And the guy ahead of him is Scotty Bowman. So that's good, too.